My name is Amy Hofer, Amyhofer. I am Amy Hofer and I live in Doland, South Dakota. I'm Amy Hofer and I live in Doland, South Dakota, and I work as the finance manager for Beetle and Spink Enterprise Community. So I started working for Basic in January of 2013, and at that time there was no daycare, and which hugely influenced my decision of whether or not to even accept a job in Doland, because if there was no daycare, I almost didn't take the job. I had one son at the time, and he was about 4 months old. And so finding care for him was obviously my main concern of whether or not I should take the job. And I just felt that this was what I needed to do, so I took the job. And I was taking my son to Clark, which is 20 miles away. So I was driving 20 miles each direction, twice a day, to take my son to daycare. So it took a lot of time, a lot of travel, a lot of gas money to get him to daycare. So I decided I was tired of driving to Clark, and I brought the topic to several different people, and it wasn't a new idea. The idea of a daycare wasn't new. There was other people who have tried it in the past. We wanted it to be a community effort, and so this was our first go at making it a community daycare, and so talked to some people and got the conversations going, and it went from there. As I was traveling to Clark, I knew that there was a couple other parents from the Doland area that were also taking their kids to Clark, and some of the teachers in town, they were taking their children to either Redfield or other towns as well, so we knew that there was a need. When we first started, we didn't think there would be this big of a need for it. After being open for a couple of years, we've already expanded. So, we were looking for a place that would take care of our kids. The daycare is open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and we needed to allow for the working parents that travel for their own work. It's open year-round, 6 to 6. Or as care is needed, they'll stay open later if they need to, but it has to be prearranged. They're very accommodating at the daycare, so if you need anything, they're very willing to do whatever they can. I think the biggest risk was, of course, the financial. If it wasn't going to cash flow, someone was going to experience a loss. Basic helped us get the daycare started Basic helped get the daycare started with contacting the Governor's House program. We were able to get the top half of the daycare donated through their daycare facilities grant program. So Basic helped write the grant to obtain the facility. Basic help with the business plan creation and the feasibility study for the daycare. So Basic helped out in a couple different ways. Basic helped write the daycare facilities grant with the Governor's House program, so we could get the top half of the daycare donated. And Basic helped with the feasibility study and create the business plan. Basic helped with writing a grant for the facility, business plan creation, and feasibility studies. So the daycare planning committee asked for Basic's help with writing a grant because Basic has experience with grant writing and has experience with the Governor's House program, which allowed us to get the top half of the facility donated. As part of the grant application process, we had to have a feasibility study done. So Basic helped with creating a survey and dispersing it to members of the community. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through when you're writing a grant, and Basic helped us to get through those hoops. There's a lot of hoops to jump through when you're writing a grant, and Basic helped the daycare planning committee to get through those hoops. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through when applying for a grant, and Basic helped us to get through those hoops. So by having the daycare in Doland, my family no longer has to take 45-minute drive just to take our kids to daycare. We save on gas money, we save on time taking them to and from daycare. When the weather gets bad, there's the reassurance that you don't have to take your kids on the road with you, that they can be close by. There's a couple times where I had to go get my son from Clark because the weather was so bad, and so having to leave work early and missing out on that work time to go get him from daycare, and then just the comfort of having him close to me if the weather does get bad. It's nice knowing that he's only a few blocks away. It's nice knowing that they are only a few blocks away. So when we first opened the daycare, we had 2 gals that were interested in running the daycare, and we were unsure of whether or not we would actually be able to even employ both of them full time. We were guessing there'd be about 12 kids that would be there consistently. And so now we are up to, on average, 20 kids a day, 20 to 25 kids a day, and up to 30 on some days. And so in January 1st of 2017, the daycare converted to a daycare center in order to allow to care for more children. And so we expanded from a group family daycare, which could only care for up to 21 kids at a time. Now we can care for over 21 kids. And we needed to make that change because there was such a high demand for the daycare services. I think the daycare in Doland has been a great success. We are able to care for up to 45 kids at a time if necessary. And some days, having about 30 kids there, clearly there was a need for it. And they're still receiving applications for care. The demand for the daycare is there, and the community of Doland stepped up to provide the care. I think that if we didn't have the daycare, I worry it would decrease the interest in the preschool. The daycare makes it possible for parents to take their kids to daycare after preschool, because preschool is only half a days for the 3-year-olds. And so this provides parents an opportunity for a place to take their kids after school. We wouldn't be able to attract teachers, because if the teachers don't have a place to bring their kids, then they're not going to give Doland a second thought. I believe that the daycare has helped the Doland community to grow because it provides a place to take your kids. So we can provide working parents the assurance that their kids are being well taken care of locally. Potential employees know that's one less thing they have to worry about because there's local care available. I haven't gotten the end of the year numbers yet, but last year it was not a loss, and we gave the employees bonuses because we did well. This year I think we're gonna have a loss. It won't be a big one, but we had to switch our food program reimbursement, and so we lost some reimbursement money for our food program when we switched to the daycare center. So we lost out on that, and now we're going to have a loss this year, but it won't be a large one. So even though the daycare is not necessarily generating a lot of revenue, it's still an important part of the community. I hope that Doland continues to grow. I have 2 small children, and I want them to have a good place to grow up in. I want them to love Doland. I'm not from Doland, and I am a transplant, and my husband is originally from here, and we're still here, so clearly he loves the town, and I want my children to want to come back here someday, and I want them to be proud of where they grew up. I want to have them, I mostly want Doland to grow for my kids, because I just want them to be proud of where they came from, and I want Doland to continue to grow so that way they have things to do, they have things to keep them busy, they have opportunities. I want Doland to succeed in all aspects, and I think one of those aspects is the Doland Community Daycare. As a parent in Doland, I'm very thankful that we have the daycare. I don't know where I would be without it. I'm super passionate and I'm about seeing this work, because without it, I don't know what I would do without the daycare. The Doland daycare has really been a huge success, and I think a lot of that is due to BASIC. And without BASIC's involvement, it may have turned out differently. I think that the daycare has been a huge success, and a large part of that's due to BASIC, and I think without BASIC's help, the daycare may have turned out differently. The Doland daycare has been a huge success, and The success is due to the help it received from Basic. I trust the staff that work there. I'm super passionate about this daycare, and I worked very hard with a lot of people to try and make it work. And I'm so proud that it is so successful. And so I want it to continue to succeed, and with the community and their support and the great staff, the kids that love to go there, I think it will continue to be successful. And if any other communities are looking to start a daycare, maybe Basic can help. If not, contact your city. If you're looking to get a daycare started in your community, you can contact Basic, and if we can't help you, then there's someone that we can put you in touch with. That if you're looking to start a daycare in your community, contact Basic, and if we can't serve your area, then we can point you in the direction of someone who could help.